Planting Seeds whānau. Welcome back to the show. In this episode, I sit across from Taurus Taurima, a man who was raised in Flaxmere here in Hawke's Bay and is now the owner and operator of a construction company called Topline, which has more than 50 employees. This is a story of grit, determination, resilience, and hard work. You're not going to want to miss it, and I hope you enjoy. We on, brother? Mickey. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Planting Seeds podcast. Here in Kahungungu in Hastings for the Kura Whakarea Wānanga that is run by Hidden Figures. The bro and the sis who are just doing some mean mahi for our whānau who are out there who are wanting to better themselves financially, getting into business, and they're just bringing out a lot of good content that, is just really having an awesome impact. And we're here at a Wānanga, and sitting across from me, I'll get him to introduce himself, but I heard him share his keynote kōrero last night, and he's got a story to share. And he's at a point where, I feel a lot of people can get some value from it. So, brother, welcome to the show, bro.
Kia ora, brother. Thank you for having me. Kia ora whānau. I'm Taurus Taurima, born and raised in Hawke's Bay. This is my hometown. Love this place here. Privileged to be on your podcast, brother.
Cheer, my bro, cheer. And so, you're proud to be from the Bay. I'm from the other bay, probably the Bay of Plenty. Yeah. First Bay. But bro, talk to me about growing up here, brother. How was that for you?
Life's Mickey here. It was good upbringing. I come from Flaxmere. Where I spent all my my childhood before I moved over to Aussie. But I think upbringing was good. There's just not too much here, and sort of, I don't know, had a good upbringing. We had good schooling. Wanted to join the army, didn't quite make it. They went off track a bit, and then I ended up in the mob. And it's pumping here. Yeah, it's always been here. It's the fatherland of the mob, and there was this. I didn't make it into the army, so I went down that route. And
are those the routes that are basically what you see, particularly growing up in Flaxmere? Are those sort of the routes that you see as a young person as the pathway for you?
I don't think coming from Flaxmere, that's definitely the pathway, but it is there. My family are, my dad's in there, my uncle's in there. It's just what I wanted to be. Yeah. My mum never wanted me to go down that pathway. So I always sort of wanted to try and join the army when I left school, and I didn't quite make it there, so I just went that way.
Wow. And what came because you went that way, bro? Like, what was the result of going down that path?
I think everything that people do in there is individually based. So, it brings with it whatever you want to come out of it. You can be in there and do good, you can be in there and do bad, but everything that I think the people do in there, comes down to what you choose to do at the end of the day.
True.
But for me, it didn't end too well, I went to prison a couple of times, and and I don't think that was a bad thing. I think it was a really good eye-opener for me going there. But when I went to from that life and started getting full-time employment and becoming a manager and doing business, I had to choose which pathway I was going to go into to really flourish in. And once I decided I wanted to do business, I had to sort of take my own journey and walk my own walk, and that was the sort of part where I sort of left and follow what I wanted to do.
Man, and something you shared last night was while you were away, you had children, and then there was a point where you come out and your baby didn't even know who dad was, and so there was these defining moments that, sort of gave you an opportunity to make those changes. And, you don't have to speak into that, but I just feel like that was really powerful for me to hear, bro, is that you were looking at where your life is and you wanted different, and you shared the experience of just going and knocking on all these jobs and wanting to get into work and wanting to do better in whatever way that looked for you. And you spoke about resilience, because getting no's, is hard for everyone, but you got heaps of them, but you just kept trying. Can you speak a little bit into that, Papa?
Yeah, I can. When I got out my second oldest daughter was kind of newborn, and then I thought, man, I had my third baby on the way, and I thought, if I keep going down the track that I'm going down, I'll keep going back to jail, and more kids I won't have time with more of my children. But I thought, when I was trying to find a job, there was every job application has on there, do you have any criminal convictions? Would you like to disclose them? Are you happy for us to see them? And I think being Māori, not finishing school, and I don't think finishing school has any benefit to just getting employment anyway at a certain level. But and then putting an address from Flaxmere in Hawke's Bay just makes it that little bit harder,
right,
to find mahi. And definitely, you can go to Crasbourne's and pick apples. That's easy. They'll take anyone any day. But trying to find an apprenticeship where you just walk off the street, I found that extremely hard. And that's when I offered free labour to sort of try and get my way in and get my life, a life out of crime.
Wow, bro.
But that's how determined I was to sort of make those changes. And that little bit of free labour had changed my whole life.
Right.
Yeah.
Because how long were you doing that free labour, bro?
It was one day.
Yeah.
It was like a bit not a whole day. It was sort of a half a day. And then they just gave me the number, and I rang up to their boss and let them know that I was that I had been helping if there were any jobs, but no, there were still no jobs. But I had the number, and they did ask me to call back. So I just, like a kid in the candy store, brother, I rang back every day. Till they gave it to me.
It reminds me of the time I was living over in Australia, and it was just in the construction space. You either got work or you don't, eh? And there was a period where I just had no work going for me at all, and ended up running out of coin and having to ring up my olds for money, which was something that was really hard for me to do at that time. But it was that gave me what would it be? It gave me a bit of drive to be like, bro, if you're in the situation, you got to make something of it. And similar, I just went door knocking, applied for every opportunity, kept ringing back, and pretty much took anything that came, which took me to different parts of the city that I was living in. But at that time, there's something in you that just has to keep going, eh, bro?
Yeah, but then you got to keep the fire burning. I think the sad part is, and definitely in Aotearoa, is the beneficiary system is so easy to come by in the poor areas that if you don't have a job, you get paid.
Yeah.
But when you want to break out of that, you've got to just get hungry, like you say, being on the other side of the world, and where there's no beneficiary system. I think ringing back home for Pūtea is like, sort of indents the pride a bit.
Yeah, that's right, bro.
Back for help.
Yeah. Especially when you know the situation that your own whānau is into, eh, bro?
Yeah. So just keeps pushing you that's the point I had to get to. I couldn't ring my mum for money, couldn't ring my mum to help me. I had sort of gone off track of everything that I guess she had wanted for me, what she had taught me. So I sort of had to earn all that back that she did do right by me, that my family were good. And I had to sort of earn that by myself. So that's when you brother take 1,000 no's to get one yes.
One yes. And yeah, I don't know if a lot of what you do share is like out there, but you ended up getting that job. You were in there for a while, you worked all your way up. And then you were in a video store, or you were somewhere, and someone from work saw you. And can you share a little bit about that story, bro?
Yeah, I was young, and when I got my patch, I thought, man, that meant everything to me. So I tried to wear it every day. It meant the world to me. I wore it every day. I wore it as much as I could. And then when I got the job, I didn't realize, man, that was going to have an impact on if someone found out. What I bumped into one of my workmates at the video store, and he knocked on me. He just said, hey, that guy's in the mob. And the people that I was working for at the time, they were running a business from home, and it was big for them to say, hey, are you in the gang? Are you in the mob, man? You're working at our house. So I'm very grateful that I managed to convince them to give me the job, that that although we come from these different walks of life that we can be trusted.
Yeah, cool.
Because all everyone sees is what the media portrays. But some people are born into those lifestyles. They're not born bad. But that's just the life they come from. But I asked if they trusted me that I'd give them everything I had in return. And that the job wasn't for me; it was really for my whānau. And they gave me that opportunity, and I stuck it out there for nearly 7 years. I worked for them, but proved to them that they could trust me. I never ripped them off. I treated that place. I gave it everything I had. I gave it as much as I possibly could in return for them giving me that job, until I eventually left and started Topline.
And what started that, bro? You're in a position where, you're working yourself up. You've stayed committed to this place. And then all of a sudden there was this point or crossroads where you're like, man, this has been well, but there's something over here that, you could do, but you've worked so hard here. Like, what caused you to, consider starting Topline and doing your own thing, bro?
I mean, there was a couple of factors there. I knew I had got to my full capacity in that company. I knew they weren't going to take me any further. I couldn't climb the ladder anymore. But and I was getting paid really well. I was in 6 figures at the time. That's nearly 10 years ago. And for me, I was only in my early 20s, so that was huge. But I wanted to send all my kids to private schools. So I knew I needed to earn more. But I also wanted the ability to put our people in the office. So my vision at the time was to make sure that from the owner to the managers to the field, that I could show everyone from Flaxmere that we can be whatever we want to be, even if we didn't finish school, that we can start a company, we can be the managers, and we can have a successful business. And that model worked for a little bit, but it didn't work forever.
Yeah.
We did need to employ some smarter people that did go to university and that have been in the industry a long time. And there's a lot of stereotype around our people. So you do need to have community connections, and so we've got a really good management team at Topline. But the main driver for me was to proving to myself, to my children, to my community that what they think you can't do, that you can do it. And we come from nothing, so to start something and have the fear of losing it all. Well, we just get back to where we started, man.
You're not afraid of that,
I'm
bro?
not afraid of that, brother. I could lose everything tomorrow and restart. It's all good.
That's such a mean mindset to have, though, bro, because I think, when we're starting into like business or building a life for ourselves that's on our terms kind of buzz, there's a lot of things that get in the way, and fear is like the biggest one, and that's that fear of failure or fear of going backwards. But when you're already started at a spot that is, not the greatest, that can be to your advantage, because it's like, bro, this is where I come from, this is what I'm used to, so you can only sort of like go forward in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, when you start from nothing, brother, when you grow up in state homes and you lived in the shed as a teenager to get out of the home, so that you weren't under mum's rules, and to start a business and to think that if it all fails, we're back at working. That's, as long as we got a job, we're good.
Yeah.
So we have to take that risk, I mean, you never learn to fly if you don't get pushed off the mountain cliff.
Yeah, true.
So I had to push myself off, brother, and take that
leap.
risk. Yeah.
And so talk about like, it's not all sunshine and rainbows being in business, brother, and one of the things is, one of the things that I shared with one of my bros just last night is that as your life progresses, such as, business and things are going good and things upgrade, it's not just the good things that upgrade, but all the problems upgrade too, So all the challenges actually get a lot bigger the higher you sort of scale and things. And what's been your experience with that?
Business, that's been way more ruthless than the streets. They'll waste you right in front of your eyes legally, flip you up, and then shake your hand on the way out the door and say thank you. So it's been a very turbulent. I think Topline's been going for nearly 10 years. It's been so turbulent. I mean, I do have a past that I couldn't say I'm overly proud of. I don't really regret it, otherwise I wouldn't be who I am today. But that's like a constant holdback. I mean, the community, Hawke's Bay, Hastings specifically, has been a huge support for me around the council, the mayor, the CEO of Hastings Council. Our own people have been very big, but there's like the government, the police, and that still beat you down so much. Everyone doesn't want people to be bad. They want change. And then you change, and then they don't accept the change. You know, they keep trying to pull you back down.
So trying to remind you of all of the things that happened ages ago.
Getting slammed, it was hard for me to find a lawyer because you need a lawyer, you need a banker, you need all of that to be a part of business for it to be successful. You need that team. But the amount of times that I'm lucky that I have shared my story before everyone else shared it for me.
Yeah, true.
So, to get my lawyer to trust me that I am a good person, that I won't let them down. Because everyone that works for you, you're also portraying an image on who they work for.
Yeah.
So everything you do negatively impacts them, or everything you do positively also impacts them. It impacts your staff. It impacts the people. And I think that's been sort of the biggest struggle, is getting people to take the risk on me.
Yeah, true.
That we will do the right thing. That we are good, and being able to navigate that space, being able to win work, and also being able to handle getting closed, people trying to keep closing you down. And then having the determination to I used to be really concerned about what the people thought about me, man, I need the people the community to think I'm good, for me to have enough for them to think I'm good, for the people that work for me to know I'm good. And then I just got to a point where, wow, whatever you think about me, that's on you.
Yeah.
I just got to keep going. And at the end of the day, I don't need you to understand me. If you don't understand me, you don't understand my co-op, that's cool. I was sending my kids to schools where negative publicity come out, and it was impacting my children, but it's the same thing at work. My colleagues will be playing in sports teams, and you'll be able to join the mob now. Well, man, I left that place 10 years ago.
Yeah, far out.
I left my patch there, but I haven't left my people, because my whānau are in there. So, the police, they haven't been very supportive. They are so ruthless in their approach to not wanting you to succeed. It's quite tough that where we come from. I don't think that they think that it was possible. But I also know that if there were 10 of me doing the same thing, I don't believe the other 9 would have survived. They would have just quit, because it's way easier just to pack up and go back to what you're used to. And I think that's hard in business. Business is lethal, and when it gets to a certain point.
Yeah.
Especially when you've got a past that I've got. It's definitely hasn't been an easy road, brother. It has been easier if I probably just sold up sometimes.
Yep. Man, but that's the burden you carry, bro? As someone who's sort of walked this path, and, a lot of pressure that is on your shoulders, and it's not only what you think of yourself, but the responsibility that you now have for the people that you look after and the mouths that you feed, because, at one point it was just you and your dream working for yourself, but now you've got employees, and you've got a team, and you've got a board. And so do you feel that pressure, bro? Do you feel that's part of it, or is that not even, how does that measure up, the responsibility of all of your staff compared to what you're talking about, just how hard it is just to keep going forward?
The responsibility of all my staff, that's first and foremost, that's the most.
And how much staff do you have, bro? Let the people know how much.
We've got between 60 and 70. I've got 2 different businesses, one in construction, one that does road marking, and then I run a rangatahi program, and the program is make sure that they all come off the benefit, so they all become employees. And so 9 months of the year, we've got about 80 to 90 to staff
wow,
on the books. And I think those people, the employees are the most important thing to your company, but they are the most important thing to the reason why you do what you do. You're doing it for your whānau, but the people that are working, they're doing it for their whānau.
Yeah.
So you have to respect that and value that. So the time that they give, I'm very respectful and mindful of how long they're at mahi. But I think I could look back on it and, you know, I couldn't get up and speak at kura whakarea on my journey and encourage people that have had a struggle, you know, or rocky road on their journey of life, and tell them that it's possible if I had given up. So I think that's probably been one of the big things for me, you know, sticking it out and enjoying it. I mean, I probably could have sold it and retired if I felt like it, but it's not always the reason why I'm doing what I've done. I don't know if it's been enjoyable the whole time, but it's definitely been a learning process. It's definitely, I hope that the people can look up to me and think, man, I have done all of that and still make it. If I'm that driven and that determined, and it's possible. And I mean, it's been 10 years and 10 years now, a lot has changed, but the community are so supportive. And I mean, bad things linger for a long time, but they eventually go away. If you
fade away.
If you're pono to what you're doing and you're staunch to it and you are truthful. I mean, if you were lying and if I was here saying, yeah, man, I'm really trying to be good, and in the background I know I'm really bad, it won't work. But if you're truthful and you stick to the kaupapa and you do what you do, the community see that and they'll back you. And in the business we're in, without the community backing, man, we wouldn't be where we are today.
Well, you spoke, you know, about you seeing the pathway of going into the army, and then you also said that didn't work out, so you went down the path of, you know, following in the footsteps and going into the gang life. And you being in the position that you're in now, you're creating an alternative choice for a lot of the rangatahi around this area with this academy. And so can you speak a little bit about that, brother?
Yeah, I never talk negatively about the gang life, because I can't say that it done negative things for me, but I just give them two options in life. Like, all my programs primarily built around putting them into mahi that can sustain their whānau, because I believe that when they do the seasonal mahi and they go back to the benefit, that's when the crime sort of kicks in. You know, you go from 800 or 900 a week doing seasonal mahi for 9 months, and then 3 months on the unemployment benefit getting 300. And then you need to do something else to sort of prop that up. But in sort of our communities, the side hustles are not always there. It might be a candy store, it just doesn't sell candy. Yeah. You know, and that's usually sells green candy, brother, that lights up. And that's where I think we sort of get in ourselves into trouble. So my one's really re-educating the rangatahi on finding full-time employment, why full-time employment is good, and for our whānau that are second or third generation beneficiaries, to teach them about why having a license is important. You're getting 28, 30-year-olds that come in on a learner license, and just having that, it puts you in the criminal system, because what you end up doing is getting so much fines, you end up on community work. And if you want to be around the bad people, just go and sit in those vans, you'll find them there. Yeah, right. So just educating them to not party on payday, maybe leave their social life for Saturday so that they can recover Sunday and be back at work on Monday, so that we are 5 day a week minimum. And I learned something. I moved to Havelock to take my kids to school, just for a different change of life for them. And in my time there, I thought, this is crazy. They don't have a WINS office. So the kids in this area, they don't understand winds. I mean, you can go to heaps of whānau and Flaxmere, Parakiki, and winds is like sort of second nature to a lot of our whānau out there. But out there, they didn't. I thought, man, this is crazy. So none of the kids know winds. And how they all work out there is you ask the neighbour for a job, and the neighbour will find your kid a job for a friend of a friend. Not how much can you get on the green card, and is it easier to get this much? How do you get more food allowance, or what's the, you know, we figure out how to play the wind system, and it's a really bad way. So the program for that I built for our rangatahi was just to purely put them into mahi, teach them how to work hard, teach them how to not ever go back to the benefit. I hate that thing, that unemployment benefit, because it's so easy to get on.
It really traps the mind, bro, and it doesn't give any drive. It actually does the opposite, like mentally, even just energetically. A lot of it just sort of puts you on the back burner, or it puts you into a space of, not to use this word like with so much weight, but it's like you're waiting for that handout,
Yeah, and sometimes they don't know any different. That's now they could be now the third generation from dealing with 18-year-olds and their grandparents are 60. They've been a part of that cycle so long, as it's the norm. And
is it a mindset thing, bro? Because now you're sort of talking about Havelock and, you know, the different ways of operating there, and then you're talking about, you know, in the other areas, and even just the communication is just different, the way that, you know, is it a mindset thing, or is it an environmental thing?
I think it's a bit of both. It's a mindset and environmental. If your environment is you wake up and you watch your dad go to work every day, and they do that, then you sort of will copy, and your father will push that, or if he was a father, they would push that into their children, that you will work. But if you're in an environment where the benefits are normal, then you watch them go to the winds office, you go with them, and you're like, oh, that's how they do it. And then they think, oh, well, sometimes the benefit can be so much in a trap. But one person on a benefit with 3 kids can earn more than a worker that does a full-time job, except all of us know that all those solo mums are not solo mums. We know that. But the trap part is you can't buy a home with that same money.
Yeah, well.
So you might get $200 more, but it's actually valueless money. It just takes you week by week. And so trying to educate some of our whānau that $900 or $1,000 a week as opposed to $1,200, that you have to work harder, if it can be used to buy you a whare, is worth 10 times more.
Yeah.
And I think that's a different thing. We home ownership comes from employment. It doesn't come from the beneficiaries. You just definitely can't buy one. Those are the things that sort of have held our people back. And not all our people are like that. Yeah. But I specifically targeted our rangatahi from whānau from that environment.
Cool, bro. And what are some of the successes that come from that? You know, how many rangatahi have come through? Has there been successes, and how many people retain in the program, and are they going into employment? Like, what does all that actually look like?
I think our program, well, it is my program, so that's a little bit biased, but it is probably the best in the country. It has got an award for the best in civil construction in the country. We did get the best business in Hawke's Bay from our impact of social impact that we have here with the rangatahi. But it's been huge. I mean, there's a young girl that's at Kura Whakaria that started her own tāmoko business. I helped her do that.
Wow.
So it wasn't just to put them into mahi. It was to push them, to make them follow their own dreams, and to make sure that they do that. And we put them into not only to mahi, but if they don't want to do mahi, then we put them into like the police or the army or the navy, because we have a link to that. So it was just anything that made them have some specific value, and the army and the defence forces was a way for me to push them out of their environment, for them to go, for them to see what it's like there, and then come back and hopefully change a whole generation under them. Yeah. If they could go into that space where none of their whānau have tread before, for the generation under them to be able to look up and for them to follow, that was where the impact's been. But we've done 160 kids.
Wow.
And have 148 finish.
That's a high retention.
Higher retention, and it's 100% guaranteed employment when they finish. We've had some adults come onto the program, and because it's 100% drug free by the end of it to finish, and some of them have been in the meatworks for 25 years, and it was their first time becoming drug free after 35 years from our program. So that's really all it's sort of built around, sort of trying to teach them that too. Like, you can't get a good job if you smoke weed. You might be able to pass and get in, but you eventually get caught. So just trying to teach them all that sort of thing, brother.
Far out, bro. Your journey's been unreal to hear and just to connect. If you feel like there's like a message that you sort of try and follow for yourself, what do you think that is for you, bro? Like, what gets you up, or is there something that you tell yourself that, just helps you keep moving forward, brother?
Make sure you're never lazy. Like, one motto is to always work hard. I hate lazy people. I don't mean to be rude about it, but I have nothing in common with them. It's such a toxic trait that I sort of don't like being around that. So I always work hard. I make sure that what I start, I never quit. As I think quitting is like an intergenerational habit that will brush into your children. So I make sure that whatever I do, I'll work hard at it, that I never quit. I mean, it's okay to finish something, but don't quit something just because it gets too hard. And make sure that in your lifetime, that laziness, you get that, make sure that's way out of your system. That's all I can give, because I think you can be smart, but without working hard, I know a lot of smart people that I went to school with that have eventuated into nothing. So, brains ain't everything, and I think 90% of my success has just come purely from hard work. So, yeah.
That's ultimate, brother. And so to finish us off, bro, we're here at Kura Whakarea. You were the guest speaker last night and even last year. What do you think about stuff like this, bro? Māori in business, Māori out here looking at wealth creation, and, a lot of people here wanting to do papakainga, scale their business, and we're all here in one environment and one space, and, learning from people like you and others. And so what do you think about spaces like this for us as Māori?
Oh, well, I think it's beautiful. It's a beautiful space. I have so much admiration for the mahi that they do for producing such a cool kaupapa. We ain't going to get any better if we don't come to anything like this. I mean, there's a lot of people that are on Kura Whakarea that are from out of town, and I've told so many of our whānau, go to it. But they're so shy to sort of enter in these spaces. But these are the spaces we need to be in if we want to be better as a people. I mean, we can't buy land if we don't have the pūtea. You can't help people if you're broke. So we have to be happy, normalise that money is okay, that we do need it. We do need it. We can't turn the lights on without it. So we do need that. I think these spaces is probably the spaces that it needs to be the future for our people, for us to be better. I mean, in the business world, individual Māori business owners are, I think in Hawke's Bay, I might be in the top 5% of Māori-owned businesses, but when I go to an event where it's all cultures, I might be sitting maybe in the top 50%. So that just shows the sort of level of our whānau and business. So I think the more we do this, the more of our whānau that get into and come along to these things, the more programs that get set up or conferences like Kura Whakarea, I think the better it will be for our people as a whole.
Bro, Taurus, thank you so much for, the mahi that you're doing, brother. And, heard your kōrero last night. Hadn't really known of what it is that you do or who you were, but I was blown away by your kōrero, and I'm sure the people who are tuning into this, bro, are probably feeling the same, because there's something that shines about you having a kōrero, and you're just so raw and real, and and as you said a lot last night, you're like, you can't change who you are, and that's sort of that thing that's probably helped you throughout all these different stages and all these challenges. But the amount of probably impact that you're having on not just your employees, but you know, your own whānau and everyone else that you're connected to are probably looking up to you in such a way. So just want to thank you for your mahi, bro, acknowledge you for yourself, and just thank you for your time for us, bro.
I appreciate your time, brother. My first podcast, brother. It's been a privilege.
Let's go.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, brother. Cheers.